live for the first of hopefully many community hangouts with Will Stroll and Joe Brinkman, and also our special guest today is Peter Donker. If you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Yep, so I'm Will Stroll. I've been around DNN for a long time, so if you haven't heard of me, I've got quite a few open source modules out there. I've been done quite a few different things with module development, skinning, implementations. I used to consult, and at this point I'm working with Hotcakes Commerce, and so you can go to hotcakescommerce.com to find out more about that. But we build an e-commerce product, and so that's what I do today.
Yeah, we couldn't tell where you worked, Will. Get some logoed apparel and stuff for your office there.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the overlay down below to have the logo. It's not working right.
Yeah, no, yeah. a lot of other things going on today, I'm sure. And Peter, you wanna introduce yourself?
Yep. All right. So my name is Peter Donker. I'm calling in from Western Switzerland. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm thrilled to be part of this and hopefully teach you a little bit about the blog module. Some of you might know me for my other work with DNN and other open source modules. Some of you might know me from my commercial work on my document management solution on top of DNN. But it doesn't matter how you know me, just that you know me. That's good. So yeah, back to you, Joe.
And no biology experiments on the shelf today, Peter?
No, well, actually they are, but I've hidden them from view now.
Nice. So today we're gonna talk a little bit, do a little bit of introductions on some of the things that are going on in community, and then we're gonna give the bulk of the time today over to Peter Donker to talk about the DNN Blog module and show how you can. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, real quick. So we have, this is not going to be a first and only time for this, but we have some more episodes of this queued up for the next few months. So next month we're going to have Tracy Wittenkeller come to us and talk to us about skinning, and so we're going to learn some more about him, what he's doing, and some contemporary ways to make DNN look awesome. And then the month after that we got Daniel Metler coming from Tusic. So he's coming from even further away, I think, maybe than Peter, but he's going to be talking about some DNN administration. But we are looking for a speaker for December, so if somebody wants to poke their head up and shoot us a comment and let us know that if you want to speak in December, please poke up.
Awesome. Yeah, and don't mind me, I'm like juggling between 3 different screens here today, so you're going to see me look over a little bit to try to catch comments as we get comments coming in through both the DNN website as well. If you want to comment on Twitter, we'll be glad to answer any questions as we go along today. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into some of the recent changes at DNN. So as many of you know, we've had a little bit of a passing of the baton this last month, and I've assumed the role as in managing community and doing some work on DNN platform. So as part of that, we're trying a lot of new things in community. Community Hangout is one of those. And you can expect to see this every month going on out with Will Stroll and myself. And as Will said, we've got a lot of great speakers lined up in the next couple of months. And we have an even bigger announcement coming that we'll talk about probably in the October-November time frame that we want to talk about just to take this sort of to another level. But so couple of the other things that we've done in community recently, and Will and Peter certainly have been a big part of some of the changes that we've made. We're busy trying to be much more participative and open and transparent in what's going on, and Peter and Will certainly are stepping up to do their part in community. Will, you want to talk a little bit about what your group is doing?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, basically, my group happens to be the educational group, and so a lot of this will surround, getting to know DNN, getting to know people in DNN. So anything from events like DNN Con, which we have one in November. So you can go to dnncon.com and learn more about that. It's at November 7th and 8th, a free event. So you can come see people like myself and Joe and Peter might even show up there. We don't know. It's a big flight for him. But a lot of sessions and topics, and then so there's things like that, and making sure that we have more events and events in your area, events like this, and user groups, and also things like documentation and whatnot. So just basically get anything that revolves around getting people to know DNN and the DNN community better is kind of under that scope. And so if you are looking to create a user group or have an event, let me know. If you want to participate in some way, let me know, and we'll get you involved.
Awesome, awesome. And you're working in a couple of different groups now, Peter, aren't you?
That's right. I've always been active in internationalization, so I'm trying to make DNN perform better and do more tasks when it comes to websites that were not done in English or done in multiple languages to make things even more complicated. Secondly, in what is now called the architecture group, which looks at the overall design of the framework and trying to forge a path forward with DNN. That's a very exciting group to be with some very, very brainy people, and I'm humbled and honored to be part of that work.
Awesome, thank you. And we've got a lot of different groups that we've started, 4 different groups plus a steering committee, and all of those groups are just basically getting off the ground, so you can expect to hear a lot more about those in the coming weeks. But we also have a lot of other things that are going on the website. You see the Community Hangouts is one, community events. We're doing things with opening up the roadmap. Oliver Hine is managing that for us, and we're actually going to be doing a lot more on the website, and we've gotten one of our good friends, Ernst Peter Kaminga, is going to be heading up that effort. And there's an architecture group that Peter's a part of as one of the community committers, and that is being headed up by Charles Nurse. And all of these are primarily community groups where we bring in community members to help work on both the platform as well as to help manage the community. So I'm really looking forward to working with you guys as well as other members of the community in the coming months to really get some momentum back in the community. And certainly looking for any volunteers who are out there watching today. And there's lots of work that we have and lots of opportunities, and we're looking for the next wave of leaders in the DNN community who want to step up and participate. So what else do we have today? Will, I'm going to let you keep us on agenda today, because if I start talking, it's possible that we may not get to anything else. So
I don't think anybody would have ever accused you of that, Joe. No, so the next on the agenda is just talking about some more news, and so we talked about a little bit of it. We talked about the release and DNN events, and some of this stuff we'll post with a blog that has this the embedded video, and so we'll have some links to some of the things we're talking about. But there's some recent with 732, it was very cool to see some community contributions with some of these names I'll mess up, like Marco Kidchischa, Brian Dukes, Gus Davey, Sebastian Leopold, he's been around for a long time, Julian Gerard, Jay Mathis, but it'd be really cool to see more people to contribute to that. We also had some Forge extension releases recently that were really cool. Too Sexy Content, I think he releases something twice a day. I don't know. He has a lot of activity. That'd be Daniel Metler. He has a lot of stuff out there, so that'd be good to check out. And the DNN Hangout module that you might be looking at on dnnsoftware.com, that was, of course, open source, so you can use that for your own sites if you want. Hefferlin form had a release. That's a very popular open source way to add forms to your site. So basically using point and click to create forms. Let's see here. Bitbox Booking. I'm not sure if that's how he intends for us to pronounce that, but that's for adding rentals to your site. So if you like have vacation rentals or something like that. And then our very own Sean Walker had that DNN upgrade wizard that was released a couple weeks ago as well.
You know, it sounds, Will, a lot like when the Europeans aren't on vacation, that they're busy building modules, because we certainly have seen a lot of those pop up since vacations have sort of come to the end at the end of August here.
Yeah, they queued them all up. That's a word they use a lot more than us. The queue. Yeah. It was also really cool. Being a vendor, I see this a lot more than I think most people would pay attention to. But it would be nice to get more attention to it. But if you aren't following DNN Store on Twitter, there's a really good feed. They're putting out a lot of information about good reviews for modules and new releases and things. And so it's a good way to keep up to date with it in a passive way. And one of my favorite things that came out from the DNN Store that would help with maybe earning yourself some more money on your own websites if you have a DNN blog. But I didn't even realize this existed. I don't know if you did, Joe, but there's a DNN referral module that you can add to your site, and so basically you can build in the way for you to earn a few extra bucks by referring people to the DNN Store to purchase a module or skin or whatnot.
Quite honestly, the thing I think that was the best thing about the store to come out recently is Beth Firebaugh, who has been helping quite a bit with our community activities recently. She's been doing a lot in terms of our social media accounts and helping to keep sort of everyone on the community side focused on those things that we need to focus on at the moment, whether it's questions that need to be answered or things going on in social media or in the forums or Q&A. All those areas, Beth's doing a really good job and really trying to help keep us all on the same page in terms of what activities we need to focus on. So, I really appreciate Beth. She does a great job in the store and is really doing a great job in community now, and that's a real big help for those who don't know her. Take a moment to say hello. I do think she's going to be at DNN Con in November.
Oh, cool.
So, awesome.
Yeah, see, she's been doing a good job picking up the DNN Twitter handle as well. Pointing people to some forum posts that they may not have seen right away. So that's been useful for me to go contribute. Yeah. There's some interesting blogs that were posted recently too that it might be nice for people to be reminded. The DNN blog, if you haven't realized, it's become pretty active. I don't know. There's a new blog post all the time now. And so there's some interesting ones that that are out there, like Daniel Metler, mentioned him yet again. He has quite a few posts on Razor, so getting to know Razor. And then Charles Nurse has a good post about Project Maverick, letting you know what the thoughts are behind the future of DNN. So that was really cool. And then you have that post about the working groups to give a little bit more information about who's running them and what they are. And then another good one for the developers that might be watching is Chris Hammond posted a good blog post about how to automate builds of your modules. And so that's something that he's quite passionate about, and I am too. There's a lot to be gained from automating the builds of your packages as far as any project, but especially with DNN.
So one last item to cover. I've got a question here in the comment section about a place where we're looking for volunteers. So we will be getting more information out on that in the near future. There are lots of places where we need volunteers, and certainly that I'm leaving it to the teams to sort of decide what they need and who they want to invite to the team, or how open they want to make each of those teams. But one of the places you can look at today is a website called Up for Grabs, or upforgrabs.net, or you can just go to our JIRA, and effectively anything that we mark in the issue tracker is up for grabs. Is really something where we could use some community support in doing a pull request against that issue. We've got a lot of issues to fix, and certainly those aren't the only ones. Obviously, if you have a pet peeve or something you want to see changed in the framework or updated in the framework, feel free to submit a pull request. But outside of that, we'll be formalizing some of the other areas that we could really use community assistance in.
Yeah. Something else I'd like to make part of this, and this is all I have for the news section, is I'd like to also challenge everybody. Like every episode, I'd like to highlight a really cool looking website that's done with DNN, you know, maybe so send any cool website, and we'll pick from whatever you send over the past month on our next episode. But you know, I'd like to start with maybe tptherapy.com. It's a pretty cool looking DNN site where there's a lot of contemporary methods used to display a DNN website, and including some really interesting sliders and things like that. Nice docked menu, and so you know, the next episode, I challenge everybody. You know, give us some cool sites that you'd like to look at.
Yeah, and the last item that you didn't mention, Will, was a module that you actually wrote that's up on the Forge now, which is the Google Hangouts module, DNN Hangouts, and that's actually what we're using to stream today on DNN software. So we're going to be building out even more functionality on that module. So be watching that as we move forward. Will and the other people in the training group will certainly be adding some more functionality there. And with that, I think Peter, we've got we left you a couple of minutes to go over the blog module. But we do have a hard stop here at 4 p.m. my time, so I guess 1 o'clock Pacific, or I think that's like 2 a.m. your time, Peter.
No, we're okay. It will be 10 in the evening, which indeed we have a hard stop because then we have our next meeting coming up for our community, the internal meeting. So yeah, let's start. I have I think for like maximum 40 minutes, but let's say 30 minutes to run you through a couple of things, and we'll be looking at the blog module. So I am going to start sharing my screen, if I can still remember how to do that. Screen share, there we go. And let's see, full screen.
Yeah, this has definitely been a learning curve for first thing.
Exactly, for all of us. So currently, you should be seeing my screen. Can I get a confirmation from my co-host?
We got it.
Okay,
sure.
Good. All right. So here's, well, first of all, of course, we're talking about fantastic websites made with DNN, and I would like to just promote our DNN Connect website with some awesome blogs on there as well. And among those blogs, some of those things like the Razor series by Daniel Medler, and well, actually Daniel is quite prolific here on the thing, and of course our upcoming conference in 2015. But that was not going to be the main topic of my conversation. We were going to talk about the blog module. Now, the blog module has been, let's say, significantly overhauled from version 5 to version 6 because well, for a very simple reason that there was a legacy all the way from I think the times of DNN 1 in that module still packed in the code base of blog version 5. So it was such a mess, that code base, that it needed to be completely redone. So let's look what that experience looks like, and with the blog module. So what we'll do is we'll start first by going to the blog demo site created for this presentation, and that will be currently waking up, I guess. Now this is a regular C732, I believe, DNN site, only I've added a few things of my own little sauce over it, so it may look a bit different than when you instantiate it. I've already, as you can see, put my logo in place, but I also added this little thing which allows me to quickly switch users and just log in as one user or another. Like, okay, well, let's log in as the host user, and let's install our module. So as you know, installing a module in DNN, pretty straightforward. You go to extensions, and you have the install extension wizard to create, to browse to wherever you've stored you've downloaded the zip file and installed that. In fact, I've already added it to the install module directory, in which case it should become visible here. And I go through the same experience here. There we go. And we click through all the yada yada of release notes. I mean, who would read any of that? Or a license, of course, yeah. And we will have an installed module. There we go. And just a few tips for those that don't install modules every day. You should just, it's always a good idea to just scroll through the beginning of this, especially the beginning of this list, as it says, we're executing SQL data providers, which are basically the scripts to create the stuff in the database. If anything goes wrong there, your module is bound not to work correctly. So just one of those tips.
So Peter, right. What should somebody do if something does go wrong here?
Actually, roll back to your last backup, because if your site was really precious to you, you should have backed it up before you started installing any module, because unfortunately, DNN does not have a very graceful method of recovering from these things. That's something that we've looked at in the past. It's extremely complex to do something like that. So for now, the way it's done is if you have an important website, you back it up first, then you install the module, and if anything goes wrong, you roll it back, and then you make a copy of first of all of the error, and then you roll it back, because there is no graceful recovery from that. Okay, so let's head over to our page where we're going to install that module, and I'm actually going to add a new module. Now, here's something that is immediately going to bring up the first thing that we're going to have to look at. I'm just going to add that to the content pane. As you can see, the blog module will be instantiated on the content pane. I'm just going to remove this module which found its way to this page, which shouldn't be here. And there we go. Now we have a blog module on this page. Now, before in the version 5 and earlier, if you would have done this, add module to your website or to the page, it would have thrown roughly, I think, 5 or 6 different blocks onto the page. And that was because the module definition of the blog module contained a definition of various different parts of the blog module. One of them would be a little search box to search the blog. One of them would be a calendar to browse through ancient, through your blog history. One of them would be a list of authors, or a list of blogs, if you like. This is something that was until recently still visible on the DNN website. It's one way of doing a module in DNN. It's not one that I particularly favor, because DNN doesn't have a very good UI to manage these different definitions of modules that are all related into one. You can't, for instance, selectively add one. You have to either add a totally new module, or you have to somehow hack it in the database. So moving forward with the blog module, and looking at this again, the approach I took was to say, well, let's do away with this definition of a whole bunch of different modules, and let's accept that actually every single one of those modules is actually a view into the same data set. Basically, a calendar is just looking at when blog posts were posted and displaying a little calendar for that. A module with the authors just shows you basically the different blog authors. Again, it comes from the same data set of the module in a list. So the approach has been to say, well, let's collapse this all and make that into templates, different templates that you can select and say, okay, well, I want a blog here, and for instance, in a different panel. So I'm just going to add. Well, actually, you can do it with this button here. You can copy the module into different instances. I'm just going to quickly say this is our main blog module. There we go. Just going to save that.
So these are just individual modules, Peter, but for those that might be somewhat new to DNN, these are just basically different views that are on the same page that you would show to your visitors on your website.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So let's say I want an author list on the, let's say, the right pane, I think, is just to the right of that content pane. I'm not entirely sure here. You know, we'll call it authors, and we'll add that. It should come up. And okay, well, it's actually appeared above it. Well, doesn't matter. Let's have a look at the quickly look at the skin. So here it is in the right pane. There's a center pane there in the left pane. I don't have one with a 2/3 and a 1/3, I think, on this. No, on this layout. Doesn't really matter for demonstration purposes. You can do this in every which way you like. Authors, and we're going to copy, for instance, a let's say a big calendar on the left pane. What do you call that? History. Whatever. There we go. History. Authors. Now, where did my content go? Did it just zap that?
I think it dropped underneath.
It dropped underneath this, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was grateful of that. All right.
So, a designer would prevent that from happening.
Exactly. As
yeah, if you just move that to the center pane, I think you'll be fine, Peter.
It'll be fine with the center pane. It tends to. I'm going to do the footer left outer pane, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Left outer pane. There we go. But it won't harm anyone. All right. That's all that beautiful HTML stuff. Anyway, so that's basically the method you go about creating this stuff. You can actually also add these modules to different pages and still refer back to your original module. So if I have my home page, I can add a module there. Let's say I'm going to, again, add a new module. Here we go. Add a blog module to, what are we going to do? To the left pane. Right. Now let's see where that ended up. There we go. It's here. And what I would do is I would refer back in the settings this module to the oh, okay, it should have shown the other module there. Okay. All right, it should have shown the other module there. It is not currently set that. Maybe that is a question of caching. I'll have a look at that. Latest posts, for instance, would be an interesting one to show there. Well, all right, let's first head off to our main module page. And let's now begin setting up our blogs. So the way this was done before, let me just hold on and quickly see if I'm still following my own internal schedule that I wanted to keep. We are now almost halfway, so let's skip all that, and we've done this basic concept of a multiple definitions rolled into one. Let's quickly look at how stuff is organized in this module. So we have in the old days, you would just have a blog per person that you defined from a role, if you like. So role XYZ is allowed to blog, and then every user account that was a member of that role was allowed to create a blog in the old blog module. And that quickly ran into its limits when people decided that, hey, I want to be able to share my blog with someone else. Or a themed blog, let's say. Well, one themed blog that was on DNN, for instance, was the security blog by Cahal, that he would also be able to invite Brandon, for instance, Brandon Haynes to post in that as well. So you could see that the old approach had its drawbacks, and there were workarounds created for it, but it was never really neatly done. So again, the opportunity of the overhaul was to say, well, let's approach this totally differently, and let's say we're going to have, blogs are basically created, are like folders, and posts that sit, a blog post will sit in a particular blog and be subject to the settings of that blog. And I'm going to say, my first blog here, and underneath you can see all of a sudden with these permissions that that's immediately what I want to draw your attention to, is there's a big permission grid here that is that is able to fine-tune what happens to the posts inside of this blog. It's a lot like folders and files, which is the world that I live in every day. In this case, it's blogs and blog posts. So we could say that, for instance, we can have management can add posts to this, and they can edit any post that is there. And let's say registered users can add a comment, and if it's a manager, will auto approve that comment, right? And if and in case it's not approved, then the management can approve those comments. Okay, so this would be a management blog. Let's take that management blog, and we can choose an image file for it to make it pretty. We can have an email that will be fed in the in the RSS feed to link back to copyright message. Okay, but those those are details. I'm not going to go into that. If you have added other people to allow to post to your blog as an owner, you can actually say, well, we should publish these posts all as myself, or as the individual authors actually, and whether ghost written posts, in other words, people who are not the owner of the blog who wrote the post, whether they should be approved, those posts. But we're going to leave those blank for now. We're going to update this.
So that'd be the difference between like a CEO publishing his own post versus like his marketing person publishing as the CEO, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the marketing person could then blog, and then it would appear like it was the CEO who was posting, which is a very common scenario, of course.
Which explains how all of Will Stroll's posts get done.
Content generation army. $20 a post, man.
Yeah. So the next thing, let me see. I'm just going to quickly make sure that in the security roles we have management, right? And that there is such a thing as management here. There you go. And who's part of that? And okay, so this guy is apparently a manager. I'm going to make sure I get his everything correct. I'm just going to go now back to the home page. At this point, I'm going to log in this guy who's the manager. I'm going to go over to the module, and I get a big fat blog button because that's what I'm allowed to do. And at this point, I get a title. So Exciting. And we have the contents of the blog. I'm gonna obviously not start for this demonstration a whole. Just have a look. Oh, there was a shortcut I think in one browser to generate lorem ipsum, but I saw that somewhere. I can't remember.
Yeah, now I just go to lipsum.com, or there's also the Bacon one, and there's a Samuel Jackson one. There's some good ones out there.
Well, we'll stick with the lorem ipsum one. I've done this before, so.
Yeah, we don't want the Samuel Jackson one showing up in the video.
Maybe not.
Not this video, no.
All right, and another paragraph. We find two, and obviously this is not actually a lorem ipsum, but it's actually their presentation text. So this is our wonderful editor that I also hope to sink my teeth in one day. Anyway, we have summary and metadata, so you can add some kind and enter tags for this. Well, this is a all right, and publishing details. Oh, I'm going to publish it now, and I'm going to enable comments, and that's about it. So, well, there you go. That should be my first post, and there it is. Now, that's the detail of the post, and if we go to the module, you'll see our first representation of this. Now, the thing is, this is all driven by templates, so this layout can be changed quite easily, and I'm going to do that now. Let's have a look. I'm going to log in as an admin.
Well, while you log in, there's just been a great addition that was just put on there by Aaron Lopez on Twitter. He copied you in the tweet. HTML-ipsum.com has some really good lorem ipsum stuff for web developers.
-ipsum.com. There you go. Okay, thank you.
That's pretty awesome.
That's pretty awesome. All right, I'm going to keep that tab open. Then in this module, so basically all these modules do have their own view settings, and if I can get that correctly here. So this module has its own content, the blog to show, it will be that, etc. The categories, there are no categories right now, and we can go to a classic blog view, and if I update that, it will look a little bit more like the blog looked in version 5. There we go. So it looked a bit like this. And now my screen is going black while it's refreshing. So
is that part of the Ghostwriter mode features?
I have no clue what this is doing. I will just put that down to Murphy's Law or something.
Peter's using the dark theme with black text.
It looks like it, doesn't it? So anyway, yeah, stuff shows up, and yeah, the idea is you can set these various modules to render the content of the other module. Why this is not showing up right now, I'm a bit annoyed about, but okay, I'll debug that later. But the result, for instance, of such a module can be seen here. If you check this page out, there are various, this is a totally redone template for this for the blog module here, but they're all based on the same module. Now, that was creating a blog and setting some security on that. There are a number of settings, and that's all under the admin button here. that govern how the whole blog module works. I'm going to close the edit mode. I hate that hovering and the whole thing becoming kind of half opaque. So a summary model, I should mention that. There are various models that have been used in blogging in the past, and I wanted to be able to make that tunable by the admin. So if you have a summary, if you're using Windows Live Writer, for instance, there is something called like a post split, where the part that goes before the split is supposed to be the summary, and the part after the split is supposed to be the body of the post. But actually, what it is supposed to do in a lot of those blogs is it's supposed to show the summary before the body of the post. In other words, summary is not really the summary, it's just actually the first paragraph or introduction to the rest. And it's expected to be there in the complete thing. So if in this setting, HTML precedes post, it assumes that your summary is actually part of the whole body of the post, and the summary is just the first part of the post. And this will actually correspond also to the use of the Windows Live Writer split post feature. The default is HTML independent from body of post, so your summary is HTML, but it is seen as really a summary of the post, so it's not shown on the overview page. And finally, there's plain text independent from body of post. In some applications, you might want to have your users give you just a summary in plain text without the ability to add HTML to it. For instance, if you think about scientific publications, you have an abstract, and the abstract just needs to be plain text, boom, that you can disseminate through RSS and incorporate in different places. So there are various approaches to this, and each have their merit. I think the default setting is the most common one, but yeah, you can change that. If a summary is not added, then it will auto-generate. So we'll try to determine the first paragraph, and if that exceeds the 1,000 characters, then it will start cutting off. And you can attach a vocabulary for the categories. So now we don't have a vocabulary yet for the categories. We're gonna show in a few moments. And we can allow Windows Live Writer, which I'm going to switch on right now because we're going to show that as well in the last couple of minutes that we have remaining. And I update this quickly. Boom.
Yeah, Windows Live Writer, I don't blog without it. That tool is just amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know how Microsoft hasn't open sourced it or done something like that.
Exactly. Please sign the petition, people. Please sign the petition that Microsoft should open source this, because the loss of that tool would be catastrophic to bloggers around the planet. Let me just quickly show the power of that. So I'm logging in again as the manager guy, and I'm going to use Windows Live Writer. So I have Windows Live Writer kicked up here. I'm going to manage my blog accounts, and I'm going to add a blog account. So I'm using another type of service. So what is the web address of my blog? Well, it's here, actually. This. My name is Big Manager, and my password should be...
So Peter, while you're doing this, there is a question that came in.
Yeah.
So after you get this done, about whether or not you can hide the name of a person who created the post.
You well, you can hide anything from the UI, because basically it's a template. So you can what you display is up to you.
Yeah, that might be a great topic for a follow-on blog post.
Right. So now I'm going to get the URL. For that's underneath this little pencil icon, the Windows Live Writer link. So this
that's so convenient.
You know, I spent probably 20, 30 minutes looking for the links for the community blog and the company blog on DNN Corp's or on the DNN software website, and that was such a pain. This is so much nicer.
It is, and I think we should be doing more of that. You know, just a small icon and boom, bring it up. I just very quickly need to make sure that I've got his password set up correctly, because that seems to be bugging me right now. I'm just gonna make sure that password come on.
Is his password big password?
Yeah, this. There are all kinds of checks now for passwords. It's the same password that Jennifer Lawrence uses. Anyway, oh boy. Let's have a look. Password 123. Right. So anyway, this sets up the account in Windows Live Writer. It's just downloading and have a look at everything. And there we go. No. 1, 2, 3. This takes a couple of secs, obviously. And I'm going to say on demo. There we go. I'm going to finish that up. There it is. Now let's see if it becomes available in my drop down. It doesn't. I had this issue just now as well. If I have too many of these in my Windows Live Writer, that's why it should be made open source as well. So we can fix these things.
Then we can bring back plugins too.
Yeah. So I am logging. In case you didn't figure out, the WLW used everywhere is Windows Live Writer. And I'm going to go to my HTML lorem ipsum. And, oh, okay, that's actually in, I just want some text because I'm doing a...
Yeah, Aaron said you can click one of those labels and it automatically brings it into your clipboard.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's also cool. All right, and I'm going to go to pictures here just to show you the actual power of the whole thing, because why would you use Windows Live Writer when you can do it online? Well, it's because of this. We can drop in pictures and we can drop in code. So let's have a look at the code here, the insert pre-code snippet. I'm just going to copy a bit of code from here. And let's say I have this bit of code to display. Oh, that's a lot of code in that. Been writing a lot. So there you go. I'm going to paste that in there. This is plain old VB. And okay, that goes
the best
there.
language, but I never said that.
Is anyone still in that, Peter?
So here we go. Now I'm going to publish this. Okay, so my blog is set correctly, and other than that, I don't have any other options, and I'm going to publish this.
So Windows Live Writer, is there a dependency? Is it Windows 2012, Windows Live Writer 2012, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter. It shouldn't.
Okay.
It shouldn't. It's all right there. There we are, right on your site, and there we go. Now there are like 3 million other features that I haven't been able to touch on in this presentation, but because we're running now 7 minutes from the end, I'm going to quickly ask if there's any questions that came in on what has been done so far, and we can always come back to a more advanced session later on the blog module.
Yeah, with the delay, it'll probably take the attendees probably a good minute before they hear your question to ask more questions.
And by the way, it's integrated with a lightbox in this template.
Oh, nice.
And
that's very good.
In the default template?
Yeah, in the default template.
Okay, now you're just showing off.
Given those other books, I'm surprised because the author seems to have done a really great job with this module.
I just wonder who that author is.
You should get him to help you with those other issues you were having.
Indeed, and of course, Gorbachev's syntax highlighter is included as well in all of these templates. There are small things that I think just make things immediately look a lot more professional right off the bat. And we as coders, we can help with that. That is for sure.
Awesome. There was a question on the AUM provider for the blog module,
Right,
and for the new advanced URL management. And I know
yes.
that there was a provider for the old URL master stuff. And Peter, do you know has Bruce or anyone else released a provider for blog module?
I am not aware of Bruce having done any in this regard. However, we do have our own project for integration with the open source URL provider, done by Sascha Trouwen.
Right.
And it will make very, very, very beautiful URLs. No more post IDs, just boom, title, and that's it.
Yeah, although from my perspective, if you look at where things like if you look at Medium or you look at what WordPress has been doing, people are kind of used to the post and some of the other stuff in the URL, so I don't think it's as big a deal as it used to be.
No, I'm not sure exactly where we stand right now, but yeah. But all of it is possible, put it that way.
Yeah. Oh, look at that category editor.
Categories editor,
Wow.
and a proper category editor. And the funny thing is, these categories, I just want to, for the geeks, the categories, the posts, they all sit in the DNN Core's very own system. The categories are a vocabulary in DNN of their own and in their own right, and the posts actually are sitting in content items. The only thing that I missed in DNN, which I created here, is a proper way to stack categories, like an interface to do that, and to have them begin at 0, by the way, and to have multiple routes. That was something that, yeah.
So here's an interesting item for you, Peter, and that other people may not know, is that the next major release of DNN is going to have workflow pushed down at the API level. We don't have the UI ready for it yet, but at the content item workflow is going to be in the next major release, which is due out this fall. So since you're already using content items, workflow may be another item that for potential addition.
It looks like it will come for free.
Yeah. Okay.
Given that.
So there was a question on Twitter, and Eric VB already answered it on Twitter. But the question is there a satellite module for latest posts for use on the home page or other pages, for example? And so I assume that's just a template, right?
Yeah, it's just a template.
Yeah.
So it's just a template. It's called latest posts, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And another thing that I'm sorry, go ahead.
The Twitch there.
No, just another thing, just before we get too far from that, the last thing you were talking about with this being part of content items and being part of the default DNN vocabulary, one of the things that developers that aren't very familiar with DNN might not know is that makes it pretty easy for you to basically have content related to each other that's in other modules, right? Like, so if I built a module for myself that was some news articles and it's not blog or something else, we could relate the two.
Right. Right. One thing I also have not touched upon, don't even have it in this list, but it implements a whole bunch of localization features. The target audience for this blog module is pretty wide. I'm still convinced that a framework like ours has no reason of being if there isn't a decent open source blog module on top of this, and that has always been my mission in revising and creating this blog module. I hope this really takes the breadth of a lot of applications for blogging. It also and also for basically article creation and publication for anyone. You can create different feeds in different languages. You can have posts that are multilingual, and all of it can be interwoven and again separated through RSS if you want to feed it to some other place.
Nice. Awesome. That brings us to the end, though. So
yeah.
We're coming out of time here. So before Joe signs us off, I do want to just say one thing real quick to everybody. Well, besides thank you for an awesome presentation, Peter. But I do want to remind everybody, October 2nd is our next show, and Tracy Wittenkeller will be joining us talking about skinning. November 4th is the one after that. Daniel Mettler will be talking about administration, and we're looking for a December speaker, and any other news or questions that you might want us to address, just shoot us some messages, and we'll get them in the future shows. So thanks.
Yeah, awesome show today, guys, and really, I think for a first episode, this is pretty good. Few trying moments there at the beginning as we were getting our feet underneath us, but I think it turned out pretty well. And we'll keep monitoring the comments and do some follow up in a blog post after this. But thank you, Peter, and thank you, Will. And with that, we'll go ahead and sign off for this month.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right.
See everybody next time.